Chapter 1. Dani yelped and stumbled backwards as the squeegee bounced off her forehead. A knee knocked the mop out of her hands, followed by a rubber boot which connected with her stomach. This racked up her butt's 20th rendezvous with the floor of the Supernatural Sanitation Company's training room. The impact jolted her spine and forearms as she tried to catch herself. It also prompted a plastic crunch. She groaned and eyed a pants leg pocket, where a wet splotch started leaking through the material. She undid the zipper and pulled out the cracked remains of a small bottle of sanitation gel. Barely a handful remained inside, and she dribbled this into her palm in the hopes of salvaging something from the mess. Then she stilled as another squeegee whipped into the floor beside her, except this one sliced through the concrete like an axe splitting a particularly unlucky watermelon. She glowered at this as her attacker spoke. "Your opponent is not about to pause and let you tidy up after every hit, Miss Hasselheim." She grabbed the squeegee handle, thinking she could snap it back in a surprise attack, but her gel-slicked fingers didn't give her a solid grip on the embedded cleaner weapon. Between tugs and grunts, she tried to formulate a decent excuse. "I was trying to coat my hands with a substance that'd keep any scum back." Huffing and admitting defeat via squeegee, she lay back and tried to let her exasperation ebb away. Sweat trickled down her neck as she took inventory of her latest bruises. While she admired the spotless ceiling of the cleaner's training facility, a pair of boots, one of which had just planted its tread on her gut, stamped beside her. The bald head of her sparring instructor came into view as he frowned at her. "Miss Hasselheim," he said in a gravelly tone that would have made Sean Connery go weak at the knees, "I don't run a daycare, and this isn't nap time. Get up and let's try again." "No milk and graham crackers?" she asked. "How about a juice box?" Her instructor, known to her only as Vern by the white stitching on his brown jumpsuit, retrieved both squeegees. He waved the one he'd hit her with before. "If this had been properly chanted," he said, "it would have scalped you clear through." Dani rubbed her brow as she stood. She'd be walking around with a lump for days. Body twitching in protest, she retrieved her practice mop and settled into a weary stance, 1 foot back for stability. For a moment she considered rousing her power and seeing how Vern handled himself in an earthquake or gale. Her catalyst abilities had been forbidden for this portion of training, though, which she found about as fair as not letting a person use their mouth in a pie-eating contest. She tried to concentrate, to focus on where the next hit might come from. She could do this. She could... Squeegee slapped first her right and then her left cheek. Growling, she jabbed the mop at Vern's impressive stomach. He twisted like a beer-gut belly dancer and pinned the mop along his side. Spinning, he yanked the mop out of her hands, jerking her forward so his kick planted in the middle of her back as she stumbled past. Her left hip took the brunt of her 21st tumble. As her cheek cooled against the floor tiles, she debated which would be more humiliating, taking a nap right there or rising to face more defeat. "Come on, Dani," someone called from behind her. "Can't you at least pretend you're trying? It's embarrassing to watch." Pushing up, she glared back at Ben, who stood on the sidelines. The janitor grinned and gave a thumbs up with his left hand, the only one he had, thanks to a supernatural disease which had infected his right arm, and a hungry demigod who'd used the corrupted flesh as a snack. He kept the right sleeve of his blue jumpsuit pinned to where the limb ended just below the shoulder. "You want to go with me, old man?" She regained her footing. "I'll thrash you so hard you'll end up back in diapers." "Nah," he said. "I won't be any help in the ring, but I can do plenty good from here." Dani faced Vern, who sized up her defense. "Yeah? And what good are you doing right now?" "Why, I'm playing the role of the inevitable distractification." She rolled her eyes as she turned to keep Vern in front of her. "That's real helpful." "Maybe not helpful, but it's practical." "Sure." She swatted a feint aside. "What's practical about distraction?"